until you sacrifice, you will never be satisfied. Yes, until you sacrifice, you will never be satisfied. And you see, a life without sacrifice is not worth living. Yes. Great evening, guys. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. I am Mr. Upgrade, and I'm super excited to have you here again for another life transforming session on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. You see, on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade, we do this every Sundays. Yes, every Sundays from 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. And we basically get to do four things. Yes. Number one, we get to take your questions. So if you have any question whatsoever, feel free to send in the questions and even leave the questions in the comment section. We'll gladly take them, right? Because we understand that questions are more important than answers, right? So ask questions. We take your questions because we realize that there are no right or wrong questions. There are no wise or foolish questions. They are just questions, right? So we look forward to your questions all the time. That's number one. Number two, we share with you the upgrade mastery tip for the week. And for this week, the upgrade mastery tip for this week is sacrifice. Yes, sacrifice. That is the upgrade mastery tip for this week. And I can't wait for us to get into that conversation because there's a lot to unpack when it comes to sacrifice and why it is important that you are willing to make sacrifice in your life at this point, right? The third thing that we get to do on the show is that we get to connect, network, and bond because we live in a world where connecting, networking, and bonding is very critical. So we cannot downplay the importance and the essence of connecting, networking, and bonding. And most especially because there are a lot of people from around the world who get to watch this. So it's important that in the comment section, we get to connect, we get to network, we get to bond. You just never know, right? And number four, we gotta have fun. We gotta have fun while we do all the things that we do here because I'm a strong believer that if learning is not fun, there is no learning at all. So we gotta have fun. We gotta have fun while we do this, right? We gotta have fun. We get to ball out. We get to chill. We get to unwind. We get to relax. We just have a great time because whatever we learn in full pleasure, we remember in full measure, right? So that's why we get to have fun while we do this. It's always an experience that we get here when we do the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. So these are the four things that we do on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade, and I can't wait for us to begin today because it's another point, another opportunity for you to continue on your upgrade journey. You understand that upgrade is not a destination. Upgrade is a journey, right? And everything that we share on the Upgrade Live just helps you on that journey, right? And if you follow us closely, it looks like we're telling a story, right? Last week we talked about something quite engaging, right? Last week was amazing. So in case you missed it, go back and check it out, right? This week is just like a continuation for what we did last week. You know, last week was quite intense. We talked about yield. I know when you're able to yield, what follows next is sacrifice. And that's why we're going to be talking about this today, sacrifice. And interestingly, people already have a kind of weird notion about sacrifice. But anyways, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to send in your questions. We love to take them. That's why we're here. We want to take your questions. So feel free to send in your questions and we will gladly, with all joy, with all humility, take those questions that you may have, right? But also, while we wait for you to send in your questions, we also have our basic 5 questions that we begin the show with. Now, these 5 questions help us to lay the foundation upon which everything we will discuss will be built. So we have our basic 5 questions that will just help us to get the show on the road, right? And that's what we're going to begin with right now so that we can begin to make progress, right? So let's begin. Question number 1. what is sacrifice? I know sacrifice connotes a lot of things to a lot of people, right? And you can't really put a peg to what it is. But for you watching this at this point, when you hear sacrifice, what comes to your mind? Right? When you hear the word sacrifice, what is it that comes to your mind? What does it resonate for you? What do you relate with when you hear sacrifice? Now, I'm going to tell you this, right, and I hope that this helps you. One of the things we tell people when they come here is that pay attention, right? Suspend every information you think you know before now and listen to this. Right? Come in here as though you know nothing because it will help you to learn. Because if you feel you already know, I'm going to have an unconscious resistance to whatever is being said. So relax, right? Relax. And an interesting thing is that the things that we share here, you probably not find them anywhere. Yes, you probably not find them anywhere. So you can check them on ChatGPT or DeepSeek or OpenAI or any of those AI tools. You can't find them anywhere because they are not AI generated. They are spiritual intelligence generated. They are SI generated. That's another conversation entirely, right? I had an interesting teaching yesterday on effective use of AI, and it was mind blowing. It was. This is the upgrade life with Mr. Upgrade. So let's get back to this. So, what is sacrifice? When you hear sacrifice, what comes to your mind? When you hear sacrifice, what does it resonate in you? What comes to your mind? Now, let me tell you this, right? On the upgrade side of life, you see, sacrifice, simply put, it is what you are willing to do for who you want to become. Did you get that? Sacrifice is what you are willing to do for who you want to become. That is sacrifice. Simply put, in the simplest of definitions, sacrifice is what you are willing to do for who you want to become. Which means for everything in our life, the person that we are becoming, there's a sacrifice we have to pay, sacrifice we have to make. So sacrifice literally is the thing that you are willing to do for the person that you're wanting to become. There's a sacrifice. Nothing just happens. Things happen when people make things happen. And in the process of making things happen, you're going to make a lot of sacrifice, right? Or even sacrifices. Are you getting this? So sacrifice is what you are willing to do for who you want to become. Never forget that. Right? Now, question number 2 is, who's responsible for sacrifice? That's easy, right? That's easy. Since you know sacrifice is what you are willing to do, then who's responsible for sacrifice? You are. So nobody can make a sacrifice on your behalf for you. Yeah, there's things they can sacrifice for you, but when it comes to the person you are becoming, no one can make that sacrifice for you. It has to be made by you and you alone. So who's responsible for sacrifice? It's you. Yeah, you. You are the one responsible. Question number 3. Why sacrifice? Why sacrifice? Why do we have to think about sacrifice? Why sacrifice anything that we need to be bothering our mind about? Why sacrifice? Why? 3 reasons why sacrifice. Number 1, the decision you have to make. Decision. Number 2 is a discipline that you have to embark on. And number 3 is the debt you have to go through. So these are 3 reasons why sacrifice. Decision, discipline, and debt. And these 3 D's are quite difficult. Did you get that? These 3 D's are quite difficult. Why? Because sometimes the decision to make the sacrifice is going to take you a lot so you will make that decision. My friend recently put out a podcast, episode 161. He's doing well. He's gone far. I think he's getting close to 21 million plays now. And the title of the podcast was Making Tough Decisions. Right? I encourage you to go listen to that episode. Right? I probably dropped the link somewhere so you can go listen to it. Right? The link is already on my on the links on the channel here, right? The podcast links, because he's a great guy. So I just left the link there. So just go listen to episode 161. 161 on Let's Talk Podcast, talked about making tough decisions. So the first thing about sacrifice is the decision. The decision that I'm willing to do this now. That decision. That's what sacrifice begins with. That decision. That, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. That decision. The next is the discipline. Now you made the decision to do it, you have the discipline to stick with it. Because for some people, they make the decision and then they encounter some challenges and they have indiscipline and they go back on their decision. So making the decision is one thing. Having the discipline to stick with the decision is another. That's why sacrifice. Discipline. Right? And then the third thing is death. The truth is, there are some things you will literally have to die to for the person that you want to become alive to. I'll say that again. There are some things that you literally have to die to for the person you want to become alive to. So there must be the point of death for the sacrifice. Death. And I'm not literally saying dying, but dying. Do you get that? The death. Some things that you have to kill because of the person that you want to be. So 3 reasons why sacrifice: decision, discipline, death. Question number 4. What are the benefits of sacrifice? Now we made sacrifice. Yeah. Kumbaya, hooray. What are the benefits of sacrifice? 3 benefits of sacrifice, right? And I hope that these 3 benefits really resonates for you, right? It makes sense for you. First benefit of sacrifice is maturity. Yes. As you make sacrifice, guess what happens to you? You grow, you mature. Yes. You're not the same person you are when you began the sacrifice. No, you grow. There's maturity. There's some things that you can move away from. There's some things that you are now dead to. There's some things that you have the discipline for now. That's maturity. So one of the benefits of making sacrifice is that you mature. And the truth is this, look at it, guys. Look at this now. As you make sacrifice, it affects every other area of your life. That maturity affects every other area of your life. That's the beauty about sacrifice. Sacrifice is encompassing. Literally, it is encompassing. It affects every other areas of your life. So the first benefit of sacrifice is the maturity that it produces in you. So there's a level of growth that you now have because you are becoming. So you attain some certain level of maturity as a result of the sacrifice. Benefit 2 is the reward. Yeah, there's always a reward that comes with sacrifice. And sometimes I tell people that the reward that comes with sacrifice is not always what you get, but who you become. Right? It's not always what you get, but who you become. You see, when Abraham, we're going to talk about it much later, when Abraham went to offer Isaac in Genesis 22, and then God told him to stop, no longer kill Isaac, but use the ram in the trinket, that was a reward. Abraham now got a ram and did not have to sacrifice his son. But then that was not the only reward. The reward now was when God now said, by this I know. So in blessings, I will bless you. In multiplication, I will multiply you. Why? Because the reward of sacrifice is not just what you get for the ram, but then you also got the blessing. He was blessed in all things. What that comes with sacrifice. And then the third benefit of sacrifice is that you become a living sacrifice. I love this one because Scripture tells us in Romans 12:1 that I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service, right? The benefit of sacrifice is that you become a living sacrifice, which means there's nothing that you cannot sacrifice. I know I always say this, that the challenged with a living sacrifice that he can easily walk away from the altar. A dead sacrifice is dead and there, but the living sacrifice can still walk away. But being a living sacrifice means that there's nothing that you hold so dear that you cannot let go. And you see that with Abraham. In Genesis 21, God told Abraham to let go of Hagar and Ishmael. Genesis 22, God told Abraham to let go of Isaac to offer him as a sacrifice. So Abraham had become a willing sacrifice at that point. So there was nothing that he could not let go. Nothing literally that he couldn't let go. So that's the benefit of sacrifice. It makes you become a living sacrifice. So at this point, anything that you need to sacrifice, you won't even think twice. It's gone. It's gone. Right? Because at that point, you have become a living sacrifice. Are you getting this? Is this making sense? Right? Are you getting this? Is this making sense for you? Okay. So let's make progress. So question number 5. When is the best time for sacrifice? When is the best time? When is the best time for sacrifice? I always say this, that the last best time for sacrifice was yesterday. Like literally yesterday was the last best time. The next best time for sacrifice is now. At this moment, as you're watching this, as you're hearing me, now is the best time to make sacrifice. I know you've looked at your life and you know that there are some things you need to make sacrifice on, and you are still holding back, hesitating, procrastinating, delaying. Now, this is a cue for you to make that sacrifice now. Right? Me coming to your space at this point is a cue for you to make that sacrifice now, because now is the best time. Now is the best time to make sacrifice. So guys, these are the 5 questions. I believe it has set the tone, it has laid the foundation. So let's now get into sacrifice itself, because let's get the show on the road. Let's get the show on the road. Okay. Sacrifice. 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 Type sacrifice in the comment. Let me know that you're following. Just type sacrifice, 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 sacrifice. Just type sacrifice in the comment so I know that you're following this right now. Type sacrifice in the comment, right? Okay, so I see it. I see the first. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I see you're following. Amazing. Thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for following. Okay, so let's get into sacrifice itself. The S in sacrifice is specific. Now, why is this very important and critical is the fact that sacrifice is never random. Never random. Hardly ever random. It is always specific. You know, when it was time for God to redeem man from the fall, the sacrifice was his son. It wasn't random. It wasn't bulls or goats or calf. It was his son. It was a specific sacrifice, right? That will suffice for the salvation of man. It was a specific sacrifice. That lets you know that sacrifice is specific, very specific. Right? For the person that you need to become, there is the specific sacrifice that you have to make. Let's say, for instance, you want to become someone who's fit, right? Physically fit. There's a specific sacrifice you have to make for your physical fitness. There are things you will no longer have to eat. You have a specific time where you sleep and duration when you sleep. You have time to exercise, right? You have specific meals that you eat. So you see that sacrifice is always specific, regardless of the area you are employing sacrifice. It is specific. It is never random. It is never by chance. It is specific. There's a certain level of specificity that happens with sacrifice. A certain level of it. So it's always specific. So you're doing X, Y, Z. No, sacrifice is X or Y or Z. It's always specific. It's a specific thing that you do that fits the bill of sacrifice. It must be specific, never random. God told Abraham to bring your son, your only son, the one whom you love. Specific. Because Abraham had Ishmael, right? Ishmael was a son too. Abraham had Ishmael. Ishmael was a son. But God said, bring your son, Isaac, the one you love, your only son. Specificity. So the S in sacrifice is specific. No sacrifice is random. None. Always specific. Always specific. The A in sacrifice is action. There's always the definite action that you take as you make sacrifice. The definite action that you take as you make sacrifice. And the earlier you get used to this, the better for you. Because sometimes you are confused about, okay, should I do this? No. There's a specific action for every sacrifice. Specific action. It's not random. It's not generic. It is specific. There's the action that you take that is specific. So, backtracking into Abraham's example in Genesis 22, God told him to offer Isaac out Mount Moriah, a 3 days journey from where Abraham was the action Abraham had to take to start going towards the mount. And at some point, he left with Isaac and 2 of his servants. At some point, he told the servants to stay back. And himself and Isaac will go and offer the sacrifice and return back. Are you getting this? So that was a specific action for the sacrifice. He got the wood, he got the fire, he got Isaac. So Isaac asked at some point, Father, we have the wood, we have the fire, where's the ram? Specific action. So for every sacrifice, there is the specific action that you have to take. Specific action. It's never random. It's a specific action. First, the sacrifice is specific of what you need to do. Then the action you need to carry out. The action you need to carry out. And then the C in sacrifice is courage. It takes courage to go about sacrifice. It takes courage. Sacrifice is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the weak either. It takes courage. You know, when you look at the story of Abraham, right? Genesis 21, he had sent away Ishmael and Hagar. He had lost a part of his family. Genesis 22, God now said, now time to let go of Isaac too. It takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage. You had lost Ishmael in Genesis 21. Now you're about to lose Isaac in Genesis 22. But Abraham was undeterred. He was willing to make the sacrifice. It takes courage to make sacrifice. You can't make a sacrifice if you don't have courage. You can't. You can't. No wonder God told Joshua that be strong and very courageous. For as I was with Moses, so I will also be with you. Only be thou strong and very courageous. And we could see the kind of courage that Joshua exhibited. At one point, he told the sun to stand still while they were at battle. Courage. Courage. Right? So you see, the C in sacrifice is courage. The R in sacrifice is risk. See this, guys. No sacrifice is going to come cheap. Every sacrifice has its level of risk. Every sacrifice has a level of risk. So the question is, to risk or not to risk? Sacrifice is a risk, right? And I always tell people this: risk is the new safe. If you want to be safe, take risk, right? If you want to be safe, take risk, because risk is the new safe. And the more risk you take, the more safe you are. And sacrifice demands that you take risk. Demands that you take risk. Abraham was going to kill his son. That's a risk. He didn't even tell Sarah, his wife. He didn't tell Sarah, his wife. He just set out on the journey. Told her he's going to offer sacrifice to God and didn't specify what sacrifice it was. That's a risk. The child that she had waited for 25 years was about to be slaughtered. Sacrifice is a risk, guys. And the truth is, when you're not willing to take the risk for sacrifice, you don't become who you should become. You don't. You don't become who you should become, because sacrifice is you willing to do what you're willing to do for who you want to become. And what you're willing to do many times is a risk. It's a risk. So the R in sacrifice is risk. The I in sacrifice is intentional. You have to intentionally make the sacrifice. No one will make a sacrifice for you, like I told you earlier. It has to be what you are intentional about. You have to be intentional in making the sacrifice. You have to be intentional. Abraham was intentional. He took his son. He took the requirements for the sacrifice. He was intentional. And like I said last time when we were talking about yield, he didn't have a backup plan. That was how intentional it was. There was no backup plan. His backup plan was that God backed this plan. Oh my word. You need to watch last week's yield. It's something that helps you to understand this even better. Right? The F in sacrifice is faith. Faith. You know, Hebrews tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I say by it, the elders, they obtain a good report, right? For sacrifice, there's the level of faith you have, knowing that this will not go unfulfilled. This will not go unnoticed. This will not go unrewarded. It's a faith. This is helping me become. That's faith. This is helping me become. That's faith. You could have gone any other way, but you choose to go this way because you're intentional. And there is the faith that you have. The sacrifice will pay off. And I told you the payoff is not just necessarily what you get, because though you get some things, the payoff is who you become. It's always that payoff with sacrifice, who you become. Who you become. And see this, guys. Very important. Sacrifice requires faith. Because you see, later in Hebrews, it was said about Abraham that Abraham knew that God was able to bring back Isaac from the dead. So Abraham knew that even if he killed Isaac, God would bring him back from the dead. That's how much faith Abraham had. That God would bring Isaac back from the dead. Oh my word. Oh my word. There's the faith you need to have. There's a faith you need to have when it comes to sacrifice. There's the faith you need to have. The other I in sacrifice is inspires. Sacrifice inspires. Because you see, when you've gone through a phase of making sacrifice, it inspires you to do much more. It inspires you to do much more. You just feel like, come on, I can go at this again. Right? I can go at this again. It inspires you. It inspires you to do much more. That's the beauty of sacrifice. It inspires you to know, if I got this before, I can do this again. Sacrifice inspires. It's the beauty of it. It inspires. It doesn't just leave you hanging. No. It becomes a source of inspiration, a point of reference. It inspires. You know, even though, now look at this perspective. Now, even though Isaac may have been feeling bad that, oh, my father almost just killed me, but then Isaac also learned that God will always provide. How inspiring can that be? Because right before him, he saw the ram that was caught in the thicket, that became the substitute for the sacrifice. So no wonder in Genesis 26, when God was telling Isaac, do not go away from Gerar, he was like, I've seen this happen before. We thrive here. So people are saying we die here. No. We thrive here. We don't die here. We thrive here. So sacrifice inspires. Isaac was like, wow. So God can turn up for you like this. I'm going to hold on to this God. See, when they were dragging the wells that Isaac would dig in Genesis 26, he kept digging new wells, kept finding water in new wells till he got to the spring of water. Why? Because he kept on to the God that he could see turn up when someone was willing to make the sacrifice. Staying back in Gerar when everybody was leaving, that was a sacrifice. That was faith. Are you getting this? Is this making sense for you? Are you connecting this? Because you should. That's the only way it becomes a blessing for you. You should connect this. The C in sacrifice, the second C is character. One of the things that sacrifice builds for you is character. I see one of the strengths you have as a person is the strength of character. Strength of character. You is there. That strength of character is there. And sacrifice helps you in getting that strength of character. It's very critical because the one who makes sacrifice becomes a living sacrifice. And that living sacrifice is possible because your character has been sold out. You yielded completely. So you see how I say these things that I share, they all connect. The reason why you're able to make sacrifice is because you have yielded completely. And that has influenced your character. Are you getting this? The E is sacrifice. Is expected, which means it's expected that you make sacrifice. It's not even conditional. It's expected that you make sacrifice. It's not should I not. No, there's a must that you must make sacrifice. For the kind of person you want to become, for the kind of life you want to live, it's expected you make sacrifice. It's expected. Like there's no way around it that you won't have to make sacrifice. There's literally no way around it. It's expected that you make sacrifice. The only reason you're not making sacrifice is because you are not serious about who you want to become. Because by the moment you get serious, you will know it's expected to make sacrifice. You will just know. You will just know. It's expected. Just like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, if it be possible, let this cup pass over me. But then he remembered, this sacrifice needs to be made. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will. It's expected that you make sacrifice. It is expected. So the E in sacrifice is expected. So this is what sacrifice is. Specific, action, courage, risk, intentional, faith, inspires, character, expected. This, my friend, is sacrifice. This is what sacrifice is. This is what sacrifice is. And you see, the truth is this: life happens that you can have anything you are willing to sacrifice for. Anything you're willing to sacrifice for, you can have it. That's deep. Life happens that you can have anything that you are willing to sacrifice for. So now the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice for? What are you willing to sacrifice for? Because you can have it only when you're willing to sacrifice for it. Like Scripture says, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. Being willing and obedient is a sacrifice. Are you getting this? Being willing and obedient is a sacrifice. So you can have anything that you are willing to sacrifice for. You can have it. 3 things about sacrifice. Right? 3 things about sacrifice. Number 1, it's hard. It's tough. It's difficult. See, I'm not going to even try to make it seem I'm not trying to patronize you. The thing is this: sacrifice is hard. It is tough. It is difficult. Difficult. Remember, I told you that the 3 Ds in sacrifice: the decision, the discipline, and the debt. Is difficult. Sacrifice is hard. It's hard. You know, if you have many sons and God tells you to offer one of them, you can say, okay, I have many, so no problem. You have one, just one. Just like Jephthah too, when he made a vow and said, the first that comes out of my house when I return back from battle with victory, I'll offer as a sacrifice to God. And the first thing that came out was his daughter. She was the only child. She didn't have a brother or a sister. Jephthah had made the vow, so he had to honor his vow. Sacrifice is hard. Sacrifice is tough. Sacrifice is difficult. But sacrifice needs to be made. Did you get that? Let that sink in. Guys, let it sink in. Number 2, sacrifice is inconveniencing. If it is convenient for you, it is not a sacrifice. And I'm not even going to cap. If it is convenient for you, it is not a sacrifice. Come on, it's not sacrifice you're doing. Sacrifice is inconveniencing. Something you look back and say, but let's see how. It's inconveniencing. If it is convenient, it is not sacrifice. Remember when David said, I will not give to God what will not cost me anything. If it's not costing you something, it's not yet a sacrifice. It's still easy. Still easy. Let's say, for instance, you're someone who loves football. Right? You're a football lover. You love watching football matches and all of that, football analysis and all of those. And then you're not meant to sacrifice football. It's inconveniencing. But it's a sacrifice that needs to be made. The third thing is the sacrifice is necessary. Whether you like it or not, it's necessary that you make sacrifice. Just as sacrifice is expected, so also sacrifice is necessary. Like, how necessary sacrifice is cannot be underestimated or overstated. It is necessary. Because there are some levels you can never attain without sacrifice. There are levels you can never attain. There are levels you can never unlock without sacrifice. So sacrifice is necessary. So 3 things about sacrifice. It's hard, it's tough, it's difficult. That's 1. Those 3 is 1. Number 2 is inconveniencing. Number 3, it is necessary. Now, there are 2 traits of sacrifice. 2 traits of sacrifice that you should look forward to or look out for in people. 2 traits of sacrifice. Number 1, selfless. Anyone who's making sacrifice is already dead to self. Selflessness. Selfless. Number 2, hopeful. These are 2 traits for people who make sacrifice. They're selfless and they're hopeful. And I always say this all the time, that there are no hopeless situations. They're just people who think hopelessly. Right? So sacrifice, 2 traits it has in people who practice sacrifice or make a practice of sacrifice. They're selfless, they're hopeful. The one goal of sacrifice. This one is fun. But the one goal of sacrifice is to satisfy. Yes, to satisfy. It may not look like it when you are making the sacrifice, but the goal of sacrifice is to satisfy. So when Jesus died on the cross, he satisfied the judgment of sin forever for man's account. He satisfied it. The curtain, the veil in the temple was rent from top to bottom. He had satisfied it. So the one goal of sacrifice is to satisfy. And that's why I said when I started that until you sacrifice, you will never be satisfied. You will never be satisfied. And a life without sacrifice is not worth living because you will never be satisfied. You'll never be. You just will never be. You just will never be satisfied. See this. Follow me closely, right? Follow me closely. Nothing will change until you make the sacrifice. Nothing will change. They'll stay the same. They won't grow worse until you make the sacrifice. Sometimes people just feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. With time, things are going to get better. No. Nothing gets better with time. Mm-mm. Nothing gets better with time. The things that get better with time are the things that you have made sacrifice for on time. I'll say that again. The things that get better with time are the things that you have made sacrifice for on time. So nothing will change until you make the sacrifice. Remember we said the sacrifice is what you are willing to do for who you want to become. So nothing will change about your life until you're willing to make the sacrifice. The question is always going to be, are you willing? Are you willing? Are you willing? Are you? Are you just want to continue the way you've always been? Come on, talk to me. Are you willing? Because if you're willing and obedient, you eat the good of the land. And I said your willing and obedience is sacrifice. So are you willing? Are you willing? The sacrifice you are not willing to make immediately, you'll be forced to make it eventually. I love this. See, that sacrifice you're not willing to make immediately, you will be forced to make it eventually. So why not do it now? Why not do it now? Why not do it immediately? Because life happens that the wise does at once what the fool does at last. The Bible of the Virgins in Matthew 25, the 5 foolish virgins still went to get oil. They eventually got oil and came back, but it was too late. So the sacrifice you are not willing to make immediately, you will be forced to make it eventually. So when the 5 foolish virgins were coming initially, they could have come with extra oil like the 5 wise virgins, but they didn't. But eventually they were forced to go and get oil for themselves because the wise would not share theirs with them because it wasn't enough to share for 2. So they had to go get for themselves. Eventually they went to go get for themselves. And they got, and they came back. But it was now too late. May it not become too late for you to make sacrifice you should have made now. Because the way life happens sometimes, except God intervenes and there's mercy and restoration, some things will become too late. Some things will become too late. Literally, some things will become too late. See, sacrifice would help you bear the pain of discipline rather than to endure the pain of regrets. Listen to that again. Sacrifice would help you endure, will help you bear the pain of discipline rather than endure the pain of regrets. Because I tell people all the time, there are 2 pains you will ever face in your life. 2 pains. Not T-pain, but 2 pains. The pain of discipline, the pain of regrets. Sacrifice will help you to bear the pain of discipline than to endure pain of regret. Right? So look at your life. Bear the pain. Bear the pain of discipline. It's part of the sacrifice rather than to endure the pain of regret. You see, when you don't make sacrifice, you will be sacrificed. when you don't make sacrifice, you will be sacrificed. So to sacrifice or not to sacrifice, to sacrifice or to be sacrificed. So make sacrifice. Make sacrifice. It's necessary. Make sacrifice. Right? Your life will always look like the sacrifice that you have made or you are making. Your life will always look like the sacrifice you have made or the sacrifice you are making. Your life will look like it. It will resemble it. It will look like it. Like it's going to look like it. See, sacrifice comes with both the cost and the price. We are saying cost and price. They're not the same thing. Listen. Sacrifice comes with there's the cost. There's a cost that it will cost you for the sacrifice. And there's the price that you will pay for the sacrifice. So sacrifice comes with both the cost and the price. And I'm not talking about price. The Price, price. Not the Prize, price. Are you getting this? So sacrifice comes with both the cost and the price. It's going to cost you something. And you're going to be willing to pay the price of that cost. But you see, it takes a lot of character and discipline to make sacrifice. It takes a lot of character. It takes a lot of discipline to make sacrifice. It takes a lot. You know, when Potiphar's wife was beating Joseph to come lay with her, it was sacrifice for Joseph to say no. Because that would have been an easy road to become the favored one again. But he took to say, no, this is not good. Can I do this great sin and wickedness before God? Why? He understood that it takes a lot of character and discipline to make sacrifice. He was willing to be lied on, to be accused of rape and sent to jail. I told you, there's the cost, there's the price. There's the price. See, the cost is what you will lose if you don't make it to the sacrifice. The price is what you have to do so you don't lose. Here it is. The cost is what you have to lose. So you see, the cost for Joseph will be to lose his dream. The price for him will be that he goes to prison. Do you understand it now? When I say sacrifice comes with both the cost and the price. The cost is what you will lose when you don't make the sacrifice. The price is what you should do to make that sacrifice. Joseph knew the cost would be abandoning the dream. The price, prison. So he would not abandon the dream, he'd rather go to prison. The cost and the price of sacrifice. See, sacrifice is never easy. Why? Because you have to put in the factor of the value and the priority. So sacrifice is never easy. It's never easy. You have to factor in your values. You have to factor in priorities. Sacrifice is never easy. Anyone who tells sacrifice is easy, probably not telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Sacrifice is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would sacrifice. Think about it. If it was easy, everybody would sacrifice. It's not easy. It is not easy at all. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 16, scripture says, "And do not neglect doing good and sharing, for which such sacrifices God is pleased." So two things there, doing good and sharing. He said, for making of this kind of sacrifices, God is pleased. Hebrews 13, 16. And that lets me know that for sacrifice, 4 key things are important. Praying, the sacrifice. Forgiving is a sacrifice. It's not easy to forgive. It's a sacrifice. Giving is a sacrifice. Loving is a sacrifice. These four things are part of the sacrifice you have to make. Praying, forgiving, giving, loving. See, in Psalm 50, verse 5, scripture says, gather my godly ones to me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. It says, gather my godly ones to me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So you see, by sacrifice, you make a covenant. God, through sacrifice, made a covenant with us. Are you seeing how this works? With sacrifice, you make a covenant with God. The same way God, through sacrifice, has made a covenant with us. Sacrifice is a very powerful thing. Very powerful. Very powerful. That's why I told you it demands decision, discipline, and death. It's a very powerful thing. And there are two kinds of sacrifice. Two kinds. Right? Number one is a sacrifice you are told to do. What you are told to do. So in Genesis 4, God told Cain and Abel to offer sacrifice unto him. They're told to do it. Right? The second sacrifice is sacrifice that you know to do. So when God had saved Noah and his family from the flood, Noah offered sacrifice to God. Genesis 8:22, and God said, when the incense got to heaven, God said, God made a promise to Noah. That's why you see the rainbow. He says, I will no longer ever again destroy the earth with flood. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest will never cease. Cold and heat, winter and summer, night and day will never cease. Right? God made a promise because of the sacrifice that Noah gave. So there's a sacrifice that you are told to do, and the sacrifice that you know to do. Another example, in Genesis 21 and Genesis 22, Abraham was told to let go of Hagar and Ishmael in Genesis 21, to offer up Isaac in Genesis 22. He was told. But in 1 Kings chapter 3, Solomon willingly offered sacrifice to God. And that night, God came to meet him and said, Solomon, wake up. Wake up. What you have done now is not for nothing. What do you want? I said, God, I don't want anything. Stop it. God said, no, stop it. What do you want? I said, you see, I'm a new king. Just give me wisdom. God said, because you have not asked for any other thing but just wisdom, I will give you wisdom. And even those other things you didn't ask of, I will also give you. That sacrifice was because of what Solomon knew to do. You see, there's a sacrifice that you are told to do, and there's a sacrifice that you know you should do. Both are sacrifices, and God is pleased when people make those sacrifices. God is pleased. Are you getting this? God is pleased when people make those sacrifices. It's another sacrifice. 2 Kings chapter 3, where the king that was in battle with the children of Israel, and he was losing the battle. And then he brought his son that will be next king after him, and he offered the son as a sacrifice. And God said, this one, no. God ended the battle for him. See, whether you like it or not, or you want to believe it or not, God honors sacrifice. God recognizes sacrifice. And God rewards sacrifice. Like, just understand this thing I just told you now. God honors sacrifice. God recognizes sacrifice. And God rewards sacrifice. So sacrifice is never in vain. It's never in vain. It's never in vain when it comes to sacrifice. Never in vain. And I told you earlier, and I will remind you again, sacrifice is not as much about what you get, but who you become. That's the cocoa in sacrifice. It's not what you get, it's who you become. That's the most important thing in sacrifice. Not what you get, it is who you become. Who you become. And you see, what you can't sacrifice can soon make you a sacrifice. I will leave that there. What you can't sacrifice can soon make you a sacrifice. And you see, the question is sacrifice or be sacrificed. I leave that for you to answer. And I hope you make the right choice to sacrifice so you will not be sacrificed. You know, Saul was told to utterly destroy the Amalekites. He did not. Saul was sacrificed because his dynasty was erased. Himself and his son died on the same day in battle. His dynasty was erased. He refused to sacrifice. He was sacrificed. God left him and abandoned him and went to look out for David. See, understand this. Understand this. Sacrifice or be sacrificed. And you see, everyone will have the sacrifice that they have to make in their life. Everyone. Everyone's going to have the sacrifice that they have to make in their life. Every single one of us, we're going to have that sacrifice that we'll have to make. And please, make yours. I will make mine. You make yours. Please. Because everyone will have the sacrifice that they have to make in their life. I told you earlier, sacrifice is never generic. It is always person specific. The sacrifice that I may be asked to make will not be the sacrifice you will be asked to make. Are you getting this? But regardless of the sacrifices we are asked to make, we should make the sacrifice. That's the most important thing. We make the sacrifice. And the truth is, sacrifice is never generic. It's always person specific. So know what you must sacrifice and sacrifice it. Know what you must sacrifice and sacrifice it. If there are some friendships you need to sacrifice, sacrifice it. There are some hobbies you need to sacrifice, sacrifice it. There are some things that are just not right for you, you need to sacrifice it. Know what you need to sacrifice and sacrifice it. Know it and do it. That's it. That's it, guys. That's it. That's it. The sacrifice is always for your benefit in the long run. You don't lose when you make sacrifice. You don't lose. It's always for your benefit in the long run. Are you getting this? It's always for your benefit in the long run. And you see, Christ paid the ultimate price. Christ paid the ultimate price. He made the sacrifice. But you still have to make some sacrifices so you can maintain your concentration. Remember, we talked about consecration at one point. You still have to make some sacrifices to maintain your concentration. You know, Gehazi could not make the sacrifice to delay gratification. And he chased after Naaman to get some goods off Naaman. And when he came back to Elisha, Elisha told him, is there not a time for collecting clothes? Is there not a time for this? Because you have done this, the leprosy of Naaman will be upon you and your household. He lost out from taking the anointing. He took leprosy. because he was not willing to make sacrifice to delay gratification. You don't lose when you make sacrifice. Oh. And yes, Jesus has made the ultimate sacrifice for us on the cross. But there's still a sacrifice you have to make for your consecration. Paul and Silas was in prison. They had to wake up at night to pray. That's the sacrifice. They prayed, they praised, and there was a great earthquake, and they were set free. That is the sacrifice. But Jesus had paid the price for their salvation on the cross. But they still have to make that sacrifice. So don't hide under the excuse that Jesus has paid it all. Yes, he has. With your consecration, there's some sacrifices you have to make. That's why it says that you present your bodies, Romans 12:1. Present your bodies a living sacrifice. You do the presenting of your bodies. Holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. You do the presenting. So there's the sacrifice you have to make outside of the sacrifice that Christ has paid on the cross for you. You have to pay a sacrifice for consecrating yourself. Scripture says, can we continue in sin and expect grace to abound? God forbid. God forbid. Then can we begin in the spirit and then want to end in the flesh? Oh, foolish Galatians. Why? Because there's the sacrifice you have to make for your consecration. Sacrifice that doesn't cost you anything. It's not a sacrifice. And I guess this is what we're going to put the curtain down. Sacrifice that don't cost you anything is not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice. It must cost you something. I told you earlier, sacrifice comes with both the cost and the price. Sacrifice that doesn't cost you anything is not a sacrifice. It is not a sacrifice. So guys, this is it. This is it. This is the conversation on sacrifice. I hope that you have learned something from this. I hope that this has opened you up to a whole new level about sacrifice. And now you're quite aware of the sacrifice that you should be making. Literally, because your idea of this is so that you know the sacrifice that you as a person needs to make. Right? It's not just for talking, it's for doing. Right? The result is in the doing, not just in the knowing. It's in the doing. Now you know about sacrifice. It's time for you to make the sacrifice. Do the sacrifice. Do the sacrifice. Guys, 3 things will happen for you in this new week. Number 1, increased voice of God. Number 2, open heavens over your life. And number 3, more angelic activities in all that you do. Remember, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. And that's why we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Now, what better way for you to upgrade than to learn to start making sacrifice? Thank you so much for watching. And feel free to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Like, comment, share. Let's do more. Let's do more. That's part of the sacrifice we have to make to see that more people get to upgrade their lives. Do more, right? Share more, comment more, right? Make noise about this. And we'll be glad that you're doing this. Once again, God bless you.